So I wanted to talk about the Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul fight, and a reason why I wanted to go into my background about boxing is because of a lot of things that are need to be discussed about Jake Paul is the things that I talked about that I had to learn, and what people don't realize unless you go into that ring. Um, both fighters um, had a good showing. I felt. Um, they didn't look wild. Like when you watch these YouTuber fights or like these celebrity fights, like they're so messy, they're so crappy. Kind of like my first fights in the amateurs, just like my first ever fight. Like they're not clean, they're not, there's that anxiety. People are winging punches, people look like ugly, and their movements look like crap and things like that. So I thought that both guys and Jake Paul has gotten so much better since his first fight. Um, but Tommy Fury was definitely the more skilled fighter, um, hands down. Um, in the first round, he felt Jake landed one overhand right, felt his power right on the cheekbone, and it didn't phase him at all. So he was able to take the power of Jake Paul, which was the question, right? Um, and so it was a split decision, which means that Jake Paul won on one scorecard and Tommy Fury won on the other two scorecards. There was 2 rounds where points got deducted for like a headbutt and for clinching. Jake Paul ended up scoring a flash knockdown of Fury in the 8th round. I think it was more of a timing thing. It was a jab. It was a solid punch, but wasn't something that really I felt would hurt him. It was more like he was coming forward. He got hit with a stiff punch, knocked off balance, and his glove touched the ground, which means that it was a knockdown. So it wasn't anything knockdown where he was like wobbly or hurt or anything like that. I think it was just more of just like, oh crap, I got knocked off balance, which I thought was going to make it the final scorecards. Could have went either way because of that knockdown. And it could have been a draw, easy. I could have saw that happening, but I did feel like throughout the whole entire fight, Tommy Fury was definitely the more polished, experienced fighter. Um, you could see early on that Jake's strategy was to get Tommy Fury mad and out of pocket to try to have him rush in and get caught coming in. And that was Jake Paul's strategy. He wanted to catch him coming in, and he did a few times. He was waiting to pressure Tommy, and then when Tommy came forward, and he would try to catch him with like a overhand right or a left. That was the game plan. And like I said, he did land a few, but he didn't hit him. His power didn't affect him like the other people. When you knock a bunch of people out, especially in a few of the fights that he's had, it's hard to not believe in your, hey, I got this detonator and it's done. If I land one, it's done. But when you start fighting, boxers, they get people that aspire a lot, that fought a lot, especially in boxing. They get used to the power, just by getting hit in the head a lot, through sparring and things like that. So his power didn't seem to really affect Tommy Fury that much. He had a really hard time closing the distance. Jake Paul did, and that was the key to the fight from the beginning for me was, can Jake Paul get inside of Tommy Fury's jab? And how you do that is not by force. You do that with footwork. You do that with skill. You do that with timing. And in the first 2 rounds, he had a lot of issues closing the distance. He was getting hit with the jab early on. To the side of his face started to get red just from Tommy Fury's jab. Was hitting him clean with the jab. You could tell he was having, right before he was about to go and, throw a punch or something, he would get hit with a jab and kind of have to reset. And then same thing over and over and over again. So the first 2 rounds, he was getting hit with the jab. He was getting a little frustrated, and that was pretty much the key to the whole entire fight. Was Tommy Fury did not play into the games of like the hype, the talking the crap, acting emotional. He didn't jump in without thinking about it first. When I talk about Tommy Fury, he didn't put himself in harm's way for the most part. He stepped to the game plan. He was moving on the outside. He was jabbing, landed a couple punches, but was messing with Jake Paul's rhythm, and Jake Paul had a hard time getting past that jab to get close enough. And I thought that's what was interesting to me was Jake Paul gonna have the footwork, the knowledge, and the skill to get past the jab, and he didn't. He didn't tonight. And in fact, late in that round, he kind of just started jumping in, like just bum rushing him, because he probably felt he was down on the scorecards, which I thought he was. He did have some really good rounds. Not saying that it was a wash or anything. Like I said, it could have went either way for me. But there was times when you're looking at the skill of the boxer, there was times where he was like rushing in, kind of like a wrestler would. He would lower his head and just try to boom, 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 just try to throw punches as he's running forward, kind of like UFC fighters do. And a few times and you don't do that as a boxer because you don't lean forward and try to go get someone where like your chin is above your toes. You always have balance. You're always centered. You're, if anything, leaning back, and you move forward with your feet a lot of times. So he didn't bring his feet first to keep him in balance. So when he'd bum rush, miss, and then Fury would just move to the side, he was caught a few times of being out of position, out of balance, and Tommy Fury didn't do that. And that's like one of the things that more experienced boxers know. It's getting hit without hitting someone without getting hit is the name of boxing. And to be able to do that, you always have to be in balance and always be in a position to hit back, even when you miss with your footwork. So he was having trouble cutting off the ring, which means stopping Tommy Fury from circling him. Tommy Fury was like around the ropes for the most part, back to the ropes, moving, and Jake Paul was having a hard time stopping him from moving, and also had a hard time getting past the jab, and then he would kind of, later on in the fight, get a little bit desperate and just kind of bum rush him and just try to jump in, and he was getting out of position and getting caught a little bit. If Tommy Fury was better, he probably could have hit him with some really, really good shots in those moments, and he didn't really take full advantage of them. But he did enough to win the fight. Another thing is when you bum rush like that, you start throwing a little wild, and I felt like Tommy Fury had the more crisp, short punches, tight punches. He wasn't really wasting movements he wasn't getting tired. Jake Paul definitely looked a lot more tired because he was wasting so much movement by doing these wild punches, these big movements, where boxers, it's, 4 inches to the left. Move your head 4 inches to the left. So you're in that position to hit back. You're still in balance, and you're not, if you just like jump out of the way, like 12 feet 12 feet one way, like you're not going to be in a good balance to throw a powerful punch back. So Tommy Fury was definitely the more skilled fighter because of that ability to just move a little bit, effective movements. His punches were crisper, more efficient. He was definitely a more efficient mover. Had a good game plan, was experienced, didn't get the motions best of him and just bum rush in there like Jake Paul was doing. And so Jake Paul, like I said, when it comes to sparring, anybody that gets into the ring has my respect because I've been in there. at a very low level, but I've been in there, and it's not easy. It's scary to a lot of people. What's more scary than possibly getting hurt, especially in a fight? So I thought they both looked good ultimately at the level that they're at. They didn't look out of place. Tommy Fury definitely looked like the more skilled boxer. There was a rematch clause in the contract, so there'll probably be a rematch. I see it going. It's probably, I don't know if Jake Paul can beat Tommy Fury just because of the things that I mentioned about the cleaner, fighter. But the guy works hard. He's gotten so much better in like 5-6 fights. He's a legit boxer in my opinion. Maybe he goes back to the drawing board and gets just way better. He's still so new to the game that there's so much growth that can happen, and it is possible. But he has to work on the being a little bit more efficient. I'm sure they're going to work on more about ways to get past that jab. Maybe work on some footwork things and work on some counters. He kind of is. Jake Paul's a little bit flat-footed, not really quick feet or anything like that. So maybe he can go back to the drawing board and do some things. And I mean, every single time I watch a fight, it's entertaining to me. So I'm gonna keep tuning into it. I enjoyed it. I enjoy all the fights. But I thought the decision was fair. And it's tough to watch as like for some people that don't watch boxing. I feel like a lot of people that are not calling, have a lot of opinions on boxing, don't really watch boxing that much. It's like boring and there's all these things, but man, there's just so much that goes in a fight that people don't realize, that don't see. Like one thing that Jake can do is probably go to the body a little bit more. He in the fight against Woodley, he went to the body, and that ultimately set up the power punch that knocked him out. To stop movement, probably has to get to the body a little bit, make it an ugly boxing match. Once he gets inside, it was like every single time, they got close to each other, they were like, tying up so the ref could come in and separate them. For Jake to win that fight, I think he has to get on. Once he does get on, slip the jab, get inside, and then go to the body early. If you go to the body early, maybe it gets Tommy tired, making an ugly fight. Get him out of his comfort zone, slow down the feet. That was another thing that, like I said, the Tommy Fury's movement, he was having a hard time stopping him from moving, cutting off the ring. So if he gets him tired, there's going to be more opportunities to hit him and things like that. But ultimately, it was a good fight. I enjoyed it.